played. And here we are in the final game. It's going to be Braddock versus MorroW. Give a cheer for your favorite players. And of course, I know since we're in Sweden, are there MorroW fans in the crowd? There we go. We have the Swede MorroW spawning as the red Zerg in the right position. And up top, we have Braddock as the blue Terran.
We'll have to see how this plays out. I wouldn't be surprised if Braddock tried some early aggression, more pushes early on, rather than trying to drag the game out to try and win the game as fast as possible. Does not want to go to that late stages of the game. We'll have to see, will he be able to adapt? If he does go to the later stages of the game, will he add on these ghosts to really change the title of the battle, or will he go for some mid-game pushes? We'll have to see how this plays out. But as you can see, they have spawned close by air. Overlord's going to come in and check out this command center. Is not going to turn around. We'll continue and we'll be able to check out that ramp to see what is being made here.
So we do see the Overlord walks right on in, sees everything that's going on. And interestingly, I talked to MorroW in between the games, and he was not happy with how he's playing in these matches. So, I mean, MorroW could potentially have gotten a chance to get a little bit of a mental break in that last game, as it was fairly clear what he had to do to win. But still, that can never be a good feeling when you're convinced that you're not playing to the best of your ability in a match with this much on the line.
And I'm just looking over Braddock's recent results, and they haven't really been against Zerg players. He's got really high success rate in Terran versus Terran, 2-0 versus Happy, most recently in the ESL monthly finals in May, 3-0 versus Nama in the grand finals, I think, and then in second in the Home and J Cup, going 2-3 versus Cass, and all Terran players. And I'm looking down the list, he hasn't really succeeded very well versus Zerg players, most likely having trouble in that matchup, and it's going to be pretty hard for him to go into this third game as MorroW, such a deadly beast here.
So we do see the SCV swings right on by, spots what's going on. No 2 racks play coming up. Looks like it's very clearly going to be an early expo. But this is actually still a tense period for a Zerg, because what happens is that you see no gas coming up. And what generally means that is either an early expand or 2 racks play, so you're generally still feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But again, MorroW with his spider sense might still be having a great read on his opponent. There's the first Marine making its way over in these very close by ground positions.
Will Braddock decide to build a bunker? It might be just a pressure bunker here. He's got an idle SCV. Might not do it. If he does, it's going to be just to pressure MorroW, make him build more lings, maybe even pull off drones to try to slow him down and get that edge. And now, as we can see, the command center has been started within the base of Braddock, not really opting to go down, as we've seen previously in other Terran matchups, but will be inside the base, keeping vision away from MorroW. MorroW does have an Overlord on the Mineral Alliance, but doesn't really see any information, as now double gases are being taken as 2, becoming quite standard actually in this matchup.
Braddock now continuing just to pull down here, briefly check up on this third base. Very important to just make sure that there's no crazy big macro coming up, as again, more and more Zergs are loving the expand a lot, tech a little style against the Terran player. But MorroW, again, very much so favoring the fast Mutalisk, the fast layer play. Command Center is going down for Braddock. Curious if he's going to do that same opening he did in Game 1. Interestingly, the opening in Game 2 was much stronger, much more aggressive, but did not really end up doing nearly as much damage, in Game 1, where Braddock did eventually win.
Braddock skates this SCV across the creep and sees that there are no spine crawlers, nothing there, and knows that the majority of resources of MorroW have been gone into basically drones, but does get scanning information that MorroW has not taken off gas despite upgrading speed, which is a key tell that MorroW, isn't going to be going for a very fast third base because he's got gas, lings moving around. MorroW playing very cautious. Does pop up the ramp and sees the command center now. Wouldn't be surprised if he just goes ahead and tries to get a third expansion soon. But MorroW's style is he likes to go for layer before going for a third base, unlike Red, for example, who prefers to go for a third base very soon.
Ooh, this is an interesting opening. We have 2 factories down right now for Braddock. Looks like he is going to wait for that reactor to finish. Going to give it to the factory, so we can again do the double Hellion opening, as we love to call it. But the second factory, very interesting choice, could very well be going for some kind of very fast Blue Flame Hellion upgrade. Either way, it looks like it's going to be a tank or a Hellion-focused opening from the Terran player Braddock. Meanwhile, our favorite Swede, MorroW, is doing nothing but making drones and teching up to that layer, as you were talking about earlier.
Should be grabbing the third and fourth extractor right now, as he does, and that's just so we can obviously start to get the gas income higher and higher, so we can go for that Mutalisk. A few Hellions are going to be scouted by these slow speedlings. Zergling speed not yet being upgraded, but MorroW does know what's going on. We'll build 8 speedlings just in anticipation for this. Even a spine crawler, just safe measures while it does get up to this crucial drone cat, so we can go ahead and build that spire ASAP.
We see that Evo chamber going down right now for MorroW. Very nicely placed, helping to block that entrance to the natural. We also see that the factory is done. Will he begin upgrading anything? It looks like no. We have the armory going down right next door, so that means that he will be able to get the Thor up very quickly. This could be a very unusual Thor Hellion push.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be. We now have the Blue Flame being researched. Armory just now finishing. Will we be seeing a Thor being added on? And yes, we do. We are going to be seeing a Blue Flame Hellion Thor push, and this is going to be executed very shortly. Does MorroW have any clue? He has an Overlord in position, hasn't yet made an Overseer, which is kind of interesting. He needs to go in there to see what's going on, has no idea. Does Braddock have a bunch of barracks behind that? Does he have a bunch of factories? No idea, so I wouldn't be surprised if MorroW does soon go for an Overseer. He needs to get that scanning information, because if he goes for a very similar timing attack like the previous game, just before the 10-minute mark, just before Mutalisk do pop, that Thor and Blue Flame Hellions are going to completely crush MorroW, and MorroW could be in a lot of trouble if he doesn't identify what's going on soon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Braddock even was able to squeeze out a second factory and just get 3 Thors instead of 2, he could easily do a very, very potent push. We see that there's the armor plating going down already. That's very good for dealing with those Zerglings and the Mutalisks as well. Super, super aggressive style coming up from Braddock. And really, I mean, if you're in MorroW's position, you're going to be somewhat in the dark at this point. I mean, you've seen the Hellion Banshee in Game 1. You've seen him go Hellion Marine in Game 2. And now he's going Hellion, followed by Thor. Keep in mind, though, completely counterintuitive. You can deal with Thors very well by only making Mutalisks and doing what we call magic boxing, which is where you prevent your Mutalisks from clustering up, meaning that the Thors will do a lot of damage to exactly one Mutalisk, but hardly any to the other ones. That's
actually a really good point, and there just aren't enough Marines. Obviously doesn't have Stim, and he's going to have to wait for a key amount of Thors. I don't think 2 will be enough to push. Ideally, he is bringing some SCVs, but I'm not sure this will be enough. How many Mutalisks out? Oh, there are 8. They're going to go harass, though. If they take a hit from a Thor, though, it could be very deadly.
And it looks like he's seen maybe a glimpse of a Thor, and there it does. He does end up seeing the Thor, takes a lot of damage, picks off a Tech Lab. Very nice play that will delay another Thor by quite a lot. There's the scans going on by Braddock, a huge aggressive push. We have a lot of Banelings getting more Banelings, a great way to deal with this push, but he needs a lot more units than this if he wants to hope to take it off. There are 10 Blue Flame Hellions, very unusual Thor push coming up by Braddock. Has used 3 completely different styles all game long. Will this be enough, or will MorroW be able to take it out? We see the Blue Flame Hellions advancing forward. They see all the Banelings. It looks like 2 Banelings get taken out without actually doing very much damage at all. Mutalisk cornered, 22 Zerglings in production, and here comes the push. Oh no, he's not looking, and he loses a huge amount of Hellions. The Banelings crash into the Thors, dealing maximum damage. And only a few Blue Flame Hellions manage to work their way into the main. Do not do very much. MorroW with the amazing defense.
Wow, that is sick. 12 drones now in production. And what does Braddock do? He has to fall back on the 3rd base. That timing attack did not work. He had idle Hellions and an idle Thor on his natural. Should have waypointed them in to reinforce that army, and MorroW deals with that so well, using the Banelings and the speed upgrade to combat into those Hellions. Didn't even spread the Hellions out, so they were clumped up and died so fast, and then a quick Zergling reinforcement cleaned that up very nice. Super well defense. I
believe those Hellions were idle. You even heard I screamed so much my voice cracked like I was 13 again. I could not believe that Braddock looked away at the worst possible time. Now Blue Flame Hellions at the bottom left, roasting a lot of Zerglings, but again, not going to be able to do very much damage at all. But still, I'd like to re-emphasize that if you can just keep Zerg on the defensive for long enough, you can do wonders when you finally do that attack. That's what we've seen time and time again. Terrans are discovering that hurling units away can be very potent. Hiding 2 Hellions. We saw Straylock do a hide for a counterattack that worked so well against Tyler. Maybe it might work well against MorroW, but the Hellions did manage to get spotted by a drone.
If he'd actually gone in then, he could have done so much damage. All the units are out of position. Now Lings are going to go and basically clean them up. And MorroW, after that attack completed, went up to 83 drones. Look at the unit tab now, 83 drones, remarkable. Even adding on 3 more drones because he knew that Braddock, there's no way Thors is so slow. When you play mech, everything is so slow. It takes a long time to reinforce that MorroW just has the stability to just go ahead and drone up so hard. And he now knows that this third base is trying to go down and will go straight back into making units. And the problem with mech, mech is great, okay? Mech is really useful, but the thing is, if you don't have Marines backing up the Thors, it's going to be so hard. Magic Box, over like 3 or 4 Thors, is just going to mutilate them so fast. And then what? Do you have left Hellions and a few tanks, maybe? Just Mutalisk is going to clean up. It's going to be very hard for him to deal with this.
Look at the counterattack by MorroW arriving when the Planetary Fortress is halfway done, but only targeting these missile turrets, knowing that the vulnerability that Braddock has to deal with is with air. And look at the way Braddock responds by pushing once again 6 Thors, advancing forward.
+2 armor as well. Actually, that could change a lot here. +2 armor. Wow, how many Mutalisks in the unit tab do we have now? 17. A lot of links are being made. If Braddock controls this well, actually, and gets a hit off there, might be able to do this. He's spreading his Thors out, so Magic Box isn't as effective. This could be quite dangerous for Morris, actually.
And now it looks like Braddock advancing forward, trying to pick off these Spine Crawlers. Manages to get one. There's the second one going down. And it looks like, oh my god, all the Banelings went off and did their own thing. Managed to do some damage, but there are a lot of Thors still alive and well. Good micro by the Hellions this time. How are the Mutalisks doing health-wise? It looks like many are still dealing damage, but they're starting to cluster. A lot are in red health, and MorroW barely manages to take the Thors out in time. Hellions on the full retreat. MorroW with a lot of Mutalisks still alive, 12 total. That 4th base from MorroW is now done. The top left expansion from Braddock is up and running, fortunately. So once again, we see MorroW able to clean up another push and is beginning to churn out more Lings, more Banelings, more Mutalisks. And all Braddock has are a bunch of Thors.
And he's going to go ahead and push again now. And this force is quite weak, actually. And there's really not much that he can do. He has to push out. He can't go ahead and grab a 4th. It's going to be so hard. He doesn't even have gas on this 3rd base yet. And here comes another count. Gets a nice hit off from these Mutalisks. But MorroW is well equipped here, I think, to deal with this.
I would absolutely love a pullback by Braddock in a few seconds. Just able to get a few key hits off on those Mutalisks. And then retreating away right again. That would be a great way to get MorroW to overproduce and to keep those Mutalisks low. But, I mean, overcommitting like this by Braddock could be a huge mistake. The Banelings roll in. They're going to go directly for the Thors, dealing huge hits. The weakened Mutalisks do swing in. Zergling's now advancing forward, but these 2 Thors from the back arriving just in time. Oh no, is Braddock really going to break through?
I don't know, this is so close actually. Blueflameheim's getting in here. All these Lings going to be able to get us around. Mutalisks trying a Magic Box, but they're so weak. They just don't have enough HP. So many Lings in the making now, 56. Hopefully be able to clear up, but the thing is they're going to take time to build. They're streaming in, not on attack move. A lot of damage being done here actually by Braddock.
Wow, that +2 armor on the Thors are going to work, and Braddock getting some huge hits off on the drones, roasting outrageous amounts of them. Giant burning pile of Zerg carcasses. And Braddock is advancing forward with Thors and Hellions in an unusual twist. Suddenly MorroW, who had the big lead, is on the verge of elimination.
Braddock actually hit before Infestus were useful there, and that was such a sick timing. I don't know if that was intended or not, but that really hurt MorroW. He lost a lot of drones, despite still being at 76. That is confusing. I have no idea how that works. But these Thors, Hellions are doing so much damage, and his micro of these Hellions is insane, getting so many kills. Queen's gonna go down, and even more drones.
Oh, the 3rd base. Oh my god, Braddock is behind the mineral patch, and there's the good game. MorroW loses 1-2 to Braddock. And in the one game where I was genuinely convinced that MorroW was going to win, I mean, he was ahead by over 50 food, ended up losing to a very sudden, seemingly desperation attack by Braddock. I mean, very nice response by Braddock, but I'm a little disappointed with MorroW's ability to just hold on and defend properly in that last push.
I mean, I'm just looking at the resources now. You know, 32,000 1,000 versus 24, and then the unit 79 versus 73, be it obviously he didn't have enough production towards the end, so that count changes a little bit, but still, he was so far ahead with his economy, as long as he held that desperation attack. But Braddock seemed to get in there. He managed to pick off the weakened Mutalist, and that kind of transition to Ling Infester just didn't come out in time. He couldn't get that transition complete.
I mean, the most vulnerable point in all of StarCraft is when you're trying to do a transition, when you're trying to switch what type of units you're making. We saw Mutaling, Baneling, obviously very, very potent against virtually any Terran mixture, even mech. And then right when he started to switch to Infester to get those Broodlords up, because, I mean, logically you're thinking, I just need to get Broodlords, because then I can easily deal with Thors. Broodlords are amazingly good against Thors. But, I mean, in that little tiny window, even though MorroW had a ridiculous food lead, it just goes to show you how vulnerable you can actually be.
I mean, even if he just stuck with what he was using initially, just Muta and Lings and Banelings, he still could have beat that down. But that transition really lost him the game, unfortunately. And I'm just looking at the sheets next, and we're looking at the next game we have, though.
It's going to be Sake versus Damaga. Now, ordinarily, we'd have about a 5 to 10 minute break, but because we're a little bit behind schedule, we're just going to do no break at all and go directly into this PvZ. We're just waiting for the players to do the usual map selection process before we end up jumping into the match. I mean, Diapollo, I just cannot believe that MorroW ended up losing that last game. I am blown away, honestly.
I'm sure he's going to be disappointed in himself for sure, especially after that first loss as well, and then coming back into that second game, really regaining confidence, going into that very well. I'm sure when that third game started, he was very confident to take that down. We know his Zerg versus Terran is so strong right now, but losing to Braddock, who doesn't know how to build Ghosts in Game 2, but this push in Game 3 absolutely threw MorroW out of the water, unfortunately. That's going to hurt MorroW a little bit because he doesn't want to really throw away games like that. And to me, it felt like he threw that away almost.
Yeah, and I mean, I even got the chance to chat a little bit with MorroW right here while the camera was on us. And MorroW is just really disappointed with how he played and said straight up, Braddock just played better than I did, you know? And that's one thing that really goes to show why MorroW ends up being such a strong player, is that it's very easy to blame it on some sort of external result, you know, something like, oh, I'm tired, there was jet lag, oh, these stupid early morning matches. But MorroW completely embracing that, you know, I just did not play well, I have to improve, and MorroW consistently ends up imposing that sort of pressure on himself, which really allows him to sort of leap ahead.
Yeah, most definitely, and it's a disappointing. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about it. It's just a disappointing loss for him.